Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to focus on simplifying square roots with variables, and we're going to show that mastery by scoring at least an 80% on an exit ticket in class tomorrow. Hopefully you have the note sheet in front of you. If you don't, make sure you take out a blank sheet of paper. That way you can take the notes and we can give you a fresh one tomorrow. Now, when we simplify radicals with variables or square roots, first we want to focus on our coefficient. Then we're going to simplify the variables. Now, the big thing you need to remember, when we do square roots, this goes back to numbers from the beginning of the year when we would find the square roots. You need to be able to take out pairs. So if I look at this first one, I'm going to start with the number 450. Well, I can do 5 times 90. 90 breaks into 5 and 18. 18 I can break to 2 and 9. And then 9 breaks to 3 and... breaks to 3 and 3. I'm going to cross out all the numbers I use. Now, I want pairs. Well, I have pairs of 5 and a pair of 3s with 2 left. Now, if I look at my x, well, if I have x squared is the same thing as x times x. Well, that makes a pair. Y to the 5 is y times y times y times y times y. Well, now I have 2 pairs with 1 left. Z is z to the first, which is just 1z. Now, for your answer, keep in mind, it is pairs on the outside, non-pairs on the inside. So if I look at my pairs, I have a pair of 5s times a pair of 3s times I have 1 pair of x's. I have 2 pairs of y's. On the inside, I have 2, I have a y, and I have a z. So now we're going to simplify our answer. Well, 5 times 3 gives me 15. X, if I have 2 y's, that's the same thing as y squared. Underneath the square root symbol, it just becomes 2yz. This is now your simplified version and your final answer, 15xy squared times the square root of 2yz. With the variables, you can still have variables underneath your radical symbol. Just make sure when you write them out, you're making pairs. We're not going to do cube roots with radicals, so it's always going to be pairs. Again, I'm going to start by breaking down my number in the second one. I have 168. Well, I'm going to take that by 2, and that gives me 84. I'm going to do it again. 2 gives me 42. We're going to break it again. 2 gives me 21. And 21 gives me 3 and 7. Now, from here, again, I want pairs. Well, I have a pair of 2s. I don't have any other 2s. I don't have a 3, and I don't have a 7. So now, if I look at my variables, a to the first is just 1a. There's no pairs. B to the third is the same thing as b times b times b, which gives me 1 pair. C to the first is just 1c, so there's only 1. There's no pairs. So now, again, we want pairs on the outside, not pairs on the inside. I have a pair of 2s, and I have a pair of b's. On the inside, I have a 2, a 3, a 7, an a, a b, and a c. This is everything that's not circled underneath that radical. So now if we simplify it, 2 times b is just 2b. Underneath my radical symbol, I want to actually multiply that out. 2 times 3 times 7 gives me 42, a, b, c. We can't combine any like terms. We can't simplify any farther. So that is your answer, 2b times the square root of 42, a, b, c. It looks different because you have variables all over the place, but the biggest thing is that we want to take out those pairs. And when we can take them out, we're bringing them to the outside just like we bring the coefficient numbers to the outside when they have the pair. If we look at number 3, again, I'm going to start with 210. I'm going to break it down by 5. If you chose a different number, that's fine. We get 5 and 42. 42 breaks to 2 and 21. 21 breaks to 3 and 7. If I look at there, I'm going to cross out all the numbers I broke down, I don't have any pairs. And that's okay. Sometimes you're not going to have pairs. That means the square root of 210 is in simplest form. But that doesn't mean you don't have to check your variables. Still check your variables. If I have h to the 5, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I have 2 pairs. J to the 3rd means j times j times j, which gives me 2 pairs. K to the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Well, if I circle my pairs, now I have 3 pairs. So even though I don't have any coefficients coming out in front of the radical, I have variables. So this is not in simplest form. Outside, I have h times j and 3 k's. On the inside, 210 is not simplified, so I'm going to leave it 210. I have 1h, 1j, and 1k left. Well, if I simplify the outside, if I have 2 h's, it's the same thing as h squared. I only have 1j. You can put a 1 there, but you don't have to. And I have 3k, so it's k to the 3rd. Underneath the radical symbol, we can't simplify, so we're just going to say 210 hjk. And that becomes your final answer. If you get a number that won't simplify, that's okay. We did numbers like that at the beginning. Leave that number underneath the radical then. Our last example. We're going to start with our number. So we have 315. I'm going to start by breaking it by 5. So we have 5 and 63. That gives me 7 and 9, which gives me 3 and 3. I only have a pair of 3's, but that's okay. So now let's check our variables. X squared equals x times x. Well, that makes a pair with nothing left over. Y to the 5th is y 5 times. That gives me 2 separate pairs. And z to the 3rd is 3 z's. Well, that gives me a pair. Again, make sure you're circling those pairs. Now, pairs go on the outside, so I have 3 times x times 2 y's and times z. And everything else is on the inside, so I have 5 times 7. I don't have any x's left over, but I do have a y and a z. If you don't have any left over, don't put it there. There's no extra x's that aren't in pairs. They don't go underneath the radical. This becomes 3 times x, we have 2 y's, so it's y squared and z. Underneath the radical is 35 yz. This is now your simplified answer, and that is your final answer. Bring these notes and any questions you may have to class tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you then.